Good morning, human geography students. Today we are going to start Unit 1 for content, which is Introduction. Like I said, a lot of this will be a review for you from middle school. So let's get started. Day 1, we are going to look at types of maps. So first off, totals. Okay? Totals is a great way for you to remember all of the parts a great map has, right? So title, orientation, date, author, legend, source, and scale. Okay, you can see down here in this table, obviously orientation is the compass, right? It's the red compass here for Minnesota. The date is located somewhere on each map. Okay, so keep your eyes peeled for that, right? Because if it's a map of the United States from the 17 or 1800s, looks a lot different than a map of the United States from 2020. Okay, author, of course, legend. That's basically the key. Okay, legend right here, basically the key, and then scale, super important, right? So you can measure to see how far you are point A to point B. Okay, so totals. Then we have specific types of maps. So the first one we're going to talk about is physical maps. Physical maps show physical features, right? They show elevation, they show rivers, okay, mountain ranges. They also can show depth, so we can see valleys. They highlight the physical features of places. Okay, as you can see here, the dark or the orange, the higher the elevation. Okay, the lighter the color, the lower the elevation, meaning that these are more, the green and light green are more plains. Physical maps. All right, political maps show man-made boundaries. Okay, these are the Canadian provinces. You can see a little bit of the United States, right? So you can see that separation. Those are not physical separations. Sometimes they are, but most of the time, political maps are just something that was drawn up by a human to decide that, this is St. Michael, this is Albertville, right? That's a political map. It's man-made boundaries, kind of like the border between the United States and Canada. So on political maps, we see cities, sometimes we see counties, states, provinces, countries, man-made boundaries. Then, climate maps. All right, climate maps show various climates throughout an area. Okay, climate maps show various climates throughout an area. Climate is weather conditions in an area over a long amount of time. Okay, so you look at what that weather's like over years and years and years, not just a week or so, right? So this is climate zones of the continental United States. All right, Minnesota is humid continental. You can see up there in that dark blue. We have one spot in the United States that's tropical wet, only one part, and it's right down here in southern Florida, the southern tip, and the Florida Keys. Next, we have choropleth maps. Okay, it's kind of a funny word. Choropleth maps. A choropleth map is also referred to as a thematic map. Our book refers to them as both choropleth and thematic. These are areas that are shaded or patterned in proportion to the measurement of a statistical variable being displayed. Let me say that one more time. Areas are shaded or patterned in proportion to the measurement of the statistical variable being displayed. For example, that statistical variable might be population. Okay? So the darker the area is, the higher the population, right? That could be for the amount of cars in the United States, right? Maybe Minnesota has a ton of cars and Montana doesn't. We would see that with a thematic map. Okay, so it can be about anything. Maybe it's Minnesota Vikings fans, right? And Minnesota's super dark, and the rest of the country's really, really light. All right, but most of the time we see thematic or choropleth maps with population density, also with anything related to econ, per capita income, so on and so forth. Then lastly, we have dot maps. Okay, dot map is a distribution map, okay, or a dot density map. That map type uses dot symbols to show the presence of a feature or a phenomenon. All right, so dot maps really rely on a visual scatter to show different spatial patterns. Okay? A lot of the times for dot maps, for electricity, for number of household pets, right? It's similar to choropleth maps in terms of that variable can change, but they really rely on that spatial pattern to prove that point. Okay? Notice how on this map totals is missing. There is no part of totals on this map, and it looks kind of funny. So that's what we have here for today. Have a good day.